What's up, chat? How are we doing on this fine whatever day that it is that we're watching this? Take a wild guess as to what we're going to be talking about today. I'll give you a second. If you said Twitter discourse again, ding ding ding, you're right. This particular topic that I'm going to be talking about is something that comes around repeatedly, and I don't think a lot of people actually understand what they're actually talking about. So let's get into that. Queerbaiting. I'm sure we've all heard that word, but do we actually know what that means? Because every time I go on Twitter, I see people throwing around accusations of queerbaiting, and then I look into what they're talking about and I'm like, that's literally not queerbaiting. So the actual definition of the term queerbaiting is a marketing attempt in fiction. That's a very important distinction. It is in fiction involving intentional homoeroticism or suggestion of LGBT characters, plot lines, whatever, with an intent to bring in a queer audience without there actually being queer characters, plot lines, whatever. Hence the baiting. One major example of queer baiting in media is with Voltron. Now, I've never seen Voltron, so I'm not going to pretend to know anything about that. But, that's commonly referred to as the example of queer baiting. Obviously, I can't go into how specifically because I didn't watch Voltron, but I'm sure there's video essays out there somewhere that you can look at for that. The closest thing that I can think of that I've actually seen, which may not be queer baiting anymore, but I still feel like it is. Let me back up. Supernatural. Dean and Castiel's relationship. That whole thing. Spoiler warning, I haven't actually seen the last season. I cannot seem to get past season 10. I always lose it around there. But supposedly in the last episode, they made Destiel canon. But I'm pretty sure it was only kinda canon. But even still, what was that? 16 seasons in, and you're gonna confirm Destiel in the last episode after you've been teasing this homoerotic friendship for over a decade now? Come on. That's for sure baiting. Because even though they did, kind of give actual representation, it wasn't until the very fucking end. So it's not like you're watching the show and getting actual representation the whole time. It's like, oh, we're gonna drag it out and give it to you right at the end. Which is so silly, because even the actors, Misha Collins was like, yeah, if the CW wasn't homophobic, allegedly, then these are actual words. This is an actual statement from the Misha Collins, the actor of Castiel, said that if the CW wasn't the way that they are, then Dean and Cass would have been balls deep in each other. Bye. I'm going out the fucking, what? Balls deep? Of all of the ways you could have phrased that, you said balls deep? Crazy. Anyway, we're all on the same page about what queerbaiting is. Now let's talk about what queerbaiting isn't. Real people cannot queerbait. I'm going to repeat that one more time. Real people, human beings on this planet, not fictional characters in a movie, real humans cannot queerbait. Because it's not a marketing strategy, it's not fiction, it's not teasing something, it's who they are as a person. Sexuality is so fluid and unique and individual to a person that the labels that we have, like gay, lesbian, bi, pan, asexual, whatever, those are broad, overarching labels that encompass a spectrum. You can fall anywhere in between. You can choose the label that you feel like best fits you, but nothing is going to be like exactly it. You're not going to fit an exact mold of what a lesbian is or what a gay person is, because everybody's personality and love languages and the way that they engage with other people and show affection and engage with their friends is different. Some people and cultures consider kissing to be a strictly romantic thing. That's a very American way of thought. Kissing is romantic. But in other countries, it's not necessarily seen that way. In France, a common greeting is kissing on the cheeks, and that's not seen as anything crazy. I think part of the disconnect that we have, at least here in America, is because we're based in a Puritan culture where it's, hands off everything, modesty, and sex is taboo and whatever. But if you go to other places, their thoughts on sex is completely different and usually a bit more open than we are in America. Just because someone is femme and kisses another femme person, that doesn't automatically make them gay unless they decide that it makes them gay. People can experiment if they want to. People figure things out. Part of that can be doing things with the same gender as a means to figure it out. Or you can think that you're one sexuality at one point and then learn more about yourself and then realize that that's not accurate. Me personally, I've gone through a whole fucking pipeline. When I was in high school, I was so dead set and adamant that I was a cishet girl. I was so clearly not, and all of my friends had clocked me. There was a whole, they had a chant of buy Kiwi Rise, buy Kiwi, and they would legitimately chant this at the lunch table every day. And I was like, no, I swear, I'm straight. You liar. Then I get to college, and specifically in quarantine in 2020. I'm 20 years old. I didn't accept the fact that I was gay until I was 20 years old, which is perfectly fine. A lot of people realize that they're queer as adults. Then I started thinking more, and I was like, you know what? I kind of don't give a fuck about gender. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to restrict myself to this box of what society thinks that I should fit in and these roles that I should do. Also, I'm autistic, so these roles that society expects me to do, I don't want to be restricted like that. So I am like, nah, I'm non-binary. I literally I made it so you can't misgender me. I use any pronouns. I'll respond to whatever. You can't weaponize gender against me because I don't care about it personally. So I realized I was bi in 2020. I was bi. I didn't figure out until last year that I'm not actually bi, but a lesbian. Because it is so hard as a person who is socialized as a woman to realize that you don't like men in that way, because it is pushed on us from such a young age that we are supposed to be with men and we're supposed to have a family and, the whole stereotypical nuclear family thing. That's what we're told growing up. So when you get older and you're like, wait a second, but I don't want that, but that's what I'm supposed to want, it takes a really long time to unlearn that for a lot of people, like me, especially because I had gotten so used to the stereotype of man-hating lesbians. Don't get me wrong, the male species as a whole, I have my qualms with, just as a general mindset that a lot of men have, but I don't have a problem with individual men. I've had a lot of really close relationships with men throughout my life, and I have loved men, like guy friends and stuff, but I don't love them like that. But I think also because I'm also on the asexual spectrum, it was like kind of hard for me to differentiate like friend love from romantic love. And I finally figured that out last year, because I was like, if I thought about doing anything with a man, I was like, eh. With the women, fine. I've derailed, I feel, a bit. That my point being, sexuality is fluid. It can change as you learn more about yourself, as you get more experiences in life. And we shouldn't be condemning people for exploring that part of themselves and for trying different things and changing their minds, changing labels as much as they want to. Like, it doesn't matter. Someone's sexuality shouldn't matter to you at all unless you are trying to date that person. That's the only time. If you, or like, you know, you could tell your friends your sexuality. You technically don't have to. You don't owe people that. But like, if you want to, you don't get to automatically know everybody's sexuality and gender and all these personal details. The only reason you would get that is if that person wants you to know that. And I feel like, generally speaking, we're pretty good at that with, you know, everyday people that we interact with often. Like, the standard people that you see daily, you're not sitting there questioning what their sexuality is, usually, unless you are a transvestigator and then you think everybody's trans. And I could make a whole other video about that. So it's not just your classmate. It's also, and this is going to be crazy, reference to my last video, it also includes celebrities, because guess what they are? People. Which I feel like is confusing to people because we're often shown them in marketing situations, but unless they're playing a character in a piece of media that is queerbaiting and is not a reference to themselves, whatever they do cannot be queerbaiting. Sure, it can be questionable, but it's not queerbaiting because you don't know what their sexuality is. Billie Eilish's music video, I forgot which one is it specifically? Hold on, it's the, you probably know which one I'm talking about, but Billie Eilish's Lost Cause music video is like the thing I see the most that gets accused of being queerbaiting, or at least used to. Obviously not anymore because of reasons that I'll get into. But the music video is basically Billie and a bunch of other women in lingerie rolling around and having a good time together. And at the time, publicly, Billie identified as straight. So then people see, oh, you're straight, but then you're being physically intimate with a bunch of women. That's queerbaiting. No. Billie is playing Billie in the music video. And again, relationships and the way that people interact with each other physically does not determine their sexuality necessarily. That just might be how they engage with people. Lots of girls cuddle. Doesn't mean that they're all dating. Lots of girls hold hands with each other. Doesn't mean they're all dating. Just because I touch someone, consensually obviously, doesn't mean that we're dating. And lo and behold, a few years later, guess who comes out as gay? Billie Eilish. Look at Billie Eilish now. Look at Lunch. Look at the Charlie XCX Guess remix with Billie Eilish. That's the gayest stuff I've ever seen, except for Deadpool and Wolverine. That movie is so gay. I guarantee you there's some people out there who are going to say that movie is queerbaiting when Deadpool is canonically bisexual. I digress. That movie's gay as fuck. And so is Billy. So obviously, that video is an early exploration of her sexuality that she would come to publicize later. It doesn't make her wrong for making that video when she wasn't out, because she is still a queer person at the end of the day. Example number 2, which is the reason I am making this video, because I saw it and I was like, what are we doing? Sabrina Carpenter just released a new album and it is fantastic. Go listen to it. It's great. The music video for Taste is starring her and Jenna Ortega. There's a whole back and forth murdering of each other between Sabrina and Jenna over a guy, whatever. Then there's a part where Jenna and Sabrina kiss, kind of. And people are saying that that's queer baiting. Just because there's a kiss between two women, without looking at the context of everything else in the song and the music video. The song is about how Jenna's character, Camila Cabello, probably, was dating this guy, Shawn Mendes, and then they broke up. And then in the period of when they broke up, Sabrina dated Shawn Mendes. And then they broke up, and then Camila and Shawn got back together. This is all just, I don't know I didn't even know Sabrina and Shawn were dating, ever. This is just what Twitter is saying, so if I'm wrong, not my fault. So Taste is about Sabrina singing to Camila being, oh, I heard you guys are back together. That's great. But I was also with him, so you'll have to think about that every time that you're with him. You'll have to taste me every time he kisses you. That's the song. The point where they kiss in the music video, Jenna's character is hallucinating that. They didn't actually kiss. She was kissing her boyfriend, started picturing that it was Sabrina, thought it was, and then killed him, and then Sabrina pops up later. So they're not even actually kissing. But people just see two girls kissing and are like, oh my God, you're not explicitly gay? I'm tired. You have to look at the broader picture. You can't just be, oh, kissing, gay. If you listen to the lyrics and you watch the music video, it's not queer. Also, Sabrina is very straightforward about the fact that she is straight. People were also making comments too about the line in Slim Pickens being like, since the Lord forgot my gay awakening, I'll just be over here moaning and bitching, and trying to say that that's like wishing she was gay, which, if that's your interpretation of it, whatever, but I'm just gonna say my personal take on that is that's not what that is. That just sounds like her being, I'm not gay, so I'm gonna complain about men. That's it. Yeah, sure. I'm not straight, I still complain about men, right? Like, who cares? Who gives a fuck? If you think a public figure is queerbaiting something, that means that you are assuming their sexuality for whatever reason, right? Even if they are publicly out as straight, that doesn't necessarily mean that they actually are. There's a lot of reasons why people don't come out, especially famous people, because think about all of the scrutiny that queer people face day to day. Now imagine if the whole world knows who you are and comments on everything that you do. I would maybe want to keep some things to myself, especially if I'm still figuring it out, like whether or not I'm gay. I'm not going to come out as that until I know for sure. Now, that might not be the case for everybody, but again, you can't just assume that people are going to function the way that you function. You just kind of have to let people do their own thing, and it doesn't matter at the end of the day. There is one possible case of IRL queerbaiting, but just indulge me for a minute, okay? I'm not being fully serious about this, but maybe a little. Have you guys heard of Dream Not Found? I need to go away. Dream Not Found, the popular ship between two extremely problematic people, Dream and George Not Found of the Dream SMP. Shout out Minecrafters who are freaks. There's so many of them. Anyway, so they had this whole will they, won't they, do they like each other, are they just best friends kind of thing going on. And both of them had said, oh, we're just straight. But then Dream was like, we've talked about possibly dating. And then they just kind of leaned into the whole thing with the Dream Not Found ship. All of their friends brought it up. They made jokes about it on stream. It was like kind of a little bit a part of the Dream SMP lore. And it like kind of carried over into real life outside of like streaming content with the Heat Waves fanfiction, which has since been deleted. I think the author said that she deleted it because Dream is ugly. They just kind of took that and ran with it to a point where Glass Animals had Heat Waves merch in blue and green, which was the DNF ship colors, and to the point where when they finally met up in person, George got the license to use Heat Waves in the video of them meeting for the first time. And them doing this brought in a lot of people watching their streams and other content because people were trying to figure out whether or not they were actually gay. Is it technically queerbaiting? No, because it's not fiction. But is it kinda? Yeah. Just because of how long and drawn out it was and how they built it into their brand. Like, the difference between that and the Sabrina Billy stuff is that was just like a one-time thing. They just posted one music video or had one lyric in a song, and then people jumped on that and went crazy. What we all need to do is just mind our fucking business. Stay out of other people's shit. Unless you know them personally, it doesn't affect you. And even half the time, it still doesn't affect you unless you're pursuing a relationship with a person. You don't know what's going on in people's lives unless they tell you. And they don't have to tell you. Especially celebrities, because once again, as I mentioned in my last video, they don't fucking know you, right? We have this weird parasocial thing with celebrities where we think we need to know everything about them. And that's just not true. You don't know everything about people in your normal life. You want to know everything about a person who has no idea that you exist? That's a little strange. But hey, again, I'm just a guy on the internet, yapping in my car. What do I know about anything? I don't have a minor in sociology and psychology or anything. Literally right next to me in the car. Who the fuck has this in their bag? I think there was a meme about that. Like, girls with tote bags just be having, like, it was a girl's bag, and it was like a tote bag and the things that were in it. And I think one of them was the DSM-5, and it's literally a tote bag with the DSM-5 in it. That's all I have to say about queerbaiting for now. I'm sure it'll come up again later. Hope we all got something out of this, learned some things, got some new perspective, or just reaffirmed things that you already thought. If you guys have your own thoughts and opinions, put them in the comments. Have a discussion about it. Hope you guys enjoyed the ranting. I love to do it. I love to yap. Somebody's building something, I can hear them hammering. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you really enjoyed the video, consider subscribing if you haven't already. And if you want to go check out my other videos, that would be super cool. I posted one the other day that, as I've mentioned several times in this video, kind of relates to this topic. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your time until I see you again. Weird way for me to say that, but whatever, I'm rolling with it. Okay, bye! Hello, it's me several hours later. I forgot something. I saw a post on Twitter a couple days ago saying that Chapel Roan is not actually a lesbian and she's faking it for clout, and that Sabrina Carpenter is a lesbian icon. And that definitely could be rage bait, but I have autism, so I cannot tell. But they did double down in the comments because somebody replied and they were like, but Sabrina has a boyfriend. And this person's response was, have you heard of Compet? Brother!